Amina was born in the misty evergreen heart of Washington state, in a modest little house tucked at the edge of a sleepy town where the rain often whispered against the rooftops and the skies stayed gray more often than not. Her home was small, and the walls were thin, not just physically, but emotionally too. It was a place where secrets clung to the corners, and silence was sometimes louder than words. She lived there with her mother, a gentle woman who carried quiet sorrow behind her tired eyes. Her two younger brothers, full of questions and energy that had no safe place to land, and her father, a man who, once upon a time, must have had dreams too, but who had let the bitterness of life swallow him whole. He was unpredictable. He drank too much, too often. His moods shifted like the wind, calm one moment, a violent storm the next. Sometimes he yelled so loudly that even the walls seemed to tremble. Other times, he'd throw plates, slam doors, or punch the nearest wall just to feel in control of something, anything. Amina learned early how to walk softly, how to disappear when the tension in the air grew sharp. She became a shadow in her own home, often pulling her little brothers into their shared room and turning up the volume on a borrowed radio to cover the sound of screaming in the next room. Her mother tried, she tried, to keep things calm. She'd cook, clean, soothe, and apologize for things that weren't her fault. But even she was breaking, slowly but surely. Amina's only escape was books. Stories became her oxygen. Whenever she could, she'd bury herself in novels, letting their words lift her from the heavy reality around her. She read about women who defied kingdoms, girls who outran monsters, and brave souls who dared to dream. In those pages, Amina found hope, and deep within her, a quiet flame began to burn, a promise to herself: one day I will leave. I will build a better life. By the time she turned 18, that flame had become a fire. She had worked part-time in secret at a local diner, saving every dollar, sometimes skipping meals just to put more aside. The night she left, her hands were trembling as she packed a small duffel bag. She didn't tell anyone except her best friend, who hugged her tight at the bus station and whispered, "You deserve more. Go find it." The ride to New York was long and uncertain. She had no one waiting for her there, just a dream, a few $100s, and the stubborn belief that life had to be better than what she had known. In New York, everything moved fast. The buildings were tall, the streets loud, and the people seemed like they belonged to another world. She stayed in a cheap hostel filled with travelers and strangers. The room was shared with 3 other women, but it was warm, and no one shouted at her there. She worked as a waitress during the day, cleaning tables and refilling coffee. At night, she studied for the college entrance exams, sitting by the window of her small corner bed, her textbooks illuminated by a flickering lamp. She told herself every night, "Don't give up. You didn't come this far to quit." And she didn't. Her determination paid off. A year later, she was accepted into a well-known journalism program. The day she received her acceptance letter, she sat on the floor of her tiny apartment and cried. Happy tears this time. For the first time, It felt like the door to her future was opening. College brought challenges, but also joy. She loved learning. She thrived in classrooms where her voice mattered. Her professors praised her sharp insights and the emotional weight her writing carried. One professor, Mr. Collins, often told her, "You don't just write, you feel. That's rare." In one of her advanced journalism courses, she met Adam. He was tall, soft-spoken, and had a habit of jotting ideas on napkins. One day after class, he leaned over and said, "You always take amazing notes. Mind if I study with you?" She laughed. "Only if you bring coffee." What started as shared study sessions turned into long conversations about life, family, and the stories they wanted to tell. They understood each other in a quiet, unspoken way. Eventually, friendship gave way to something deeper. By the time they graduated, they were engaged. He proposed one evening at the library where they had first studied together, slipping a simple ring onto her finger and whispering, "You gave my life meaning." She cried and said yes, already imagining their future together. Small apartment, late night writing, maybe a dog, maybe kids. But fate had different plans. Just a few months after graduation, Adam started feeling unwell. They thought it was exhaustion, too much work, not enough sleep. But when the headaches and fatigue worsened, they went to the doctor. After several tests, the diagnosis came: cancer, aggressive, advanced. Amina refused to let fear take over. She stayed by his side through every appointment, every painful treatment. She read to him in the hospital, wrote him love letters, brought him soup, and told him he'd beat it. But deep down, she knew. So did he. He passed away 6 months later. Amina's world crumbled. The light in her life was gone. She stopped writing. She stopped believing. For a while, she simply existed, moving through the days like a ghost. But Adam's last words haunted her. "Keep going. You have stories to tell." She tried. Slowly, she began applying for jobs in journalism, newspapers, websites, magazines. She sent resumes, portfolios, cover letters. She showed up for interviews dressed neatly, trying to smile. But rejection after rejection piled up. "We're looking for more experience." "Not the right fit." Her bank account thinned. Anxiety grew. She wondered if she'd made a mistake. Maybe she should go back home. But she couldn't. The idea of returning to that house, to that man, made her physically sick. One rainy afternoon, she stepped into a quiet cafe near her old college campus. The air smelled of cinnamon and fresh coffee. She sat in the corner, watching raindrops trace patterns down the window, wondering how much lower she could sink. Then she heard a voice. "Amina?" She turned. It was Professor Collins. They talked. At first she smiled and pretended all was fine. But then the truth poured out. Adam, the job rejections, the sadness, the fear, the guilt. He listened, never interrupting. Then he said, "Amina, I believe in you. Always have. Let me call someone." That someone was Layla, a senior editor at a digital media company. The interview was warm. Layla saw not just Amina's resume, but her. She listened. and at the end she said, "Welcome to the team." The job was small, fact-checking, editing, but Amina showed up early, stayed late, and poured her heart into every assignment. Months later, she was trusted with her own articles. Her first big piece, about young immigrants chasing dreams, went viral. Amina's name started appearing more and more. Her voice was raw, real, and readers felt her truth. At a press event one evening, she met Zaid, a photographer with kind eyes and a soft voice. He listened to her stories, and she told him everything: her past, her scars, her dreams. He never judged, only held her hand and walked beside her. Years passed. They married in a small ceremony under blooming cherry blossoms. They had 2 children. Mornings were filled with laughter and bedtime stories. They lived in a cozy apartment near Central Park, where the sunlight streamed through the windows like hope. Amina still wrote. Now she also spoke at schools and community centers, especially to young girls. She told them, "You can rise. No matter where you start, you can choose where you go." To her daughter, she once whispered as they watched the stars, "I was broken once, but every broken piece came together and made something strong. That's what I am. Strong." And she was. Fiercely, beautifully, unshakably strong.